What's good, y'all? Welcome back. I know I'm a day late. Game 6 wrapped up yesterday. I know I'm a day late. I'm gonna explain why. But the Golden State Warriors are NBA champions. The Dynasty continues. That's probably gonna be the title of this video. The Dynasty continues because the Warriors kind of defied at least my expectations coming into this season and during certain parts of the year. We're gonna glorify their run first. We're gonna do that first. Leave a like, subscribe if you are new. This video might be a little all over the place because I'm still processing some of the emotions, what I saw in this series from both teams. But the Warriors are champions. And despite everything, despite Klay Thompson not playing basketball for 2 years, Steph Curry missing a good portion of the season, Draymond Green missing a chunk of time during the year, a lot of new bodies in there, a lot of guys that don't have a lot of playoff experience, and Wiggins, Jordan Poole. This was a pretty impressive run by the Golden State Warriors, man. This series against the Celtics was good. I mean, Game 6, they got punched in the mouth early on, and then they came back and punched the Celtics like they counterpunched like crazy. Like they were down 10 and basically went up 20 within a span of like 10 minutes of game time. Like it was crazy watching it. It was crazy. I think what was even more crazy is that the Celtics kind of hung in there just a little bit, like it didn't get completely out of hand. I thought once the Warriors kind of went up 20, everything was falling. Jordan Poole was hitting shots. Steph Curry was going off. Draymond Green was hitting fadeaway jumpers. I'm like, man, this might get very, very ugly. Celtics kept it kind of competitive a little bit, but the Golden State Warriors knew what they had to do. They didn't want to go to a Game 7 where anything's possible, give the Celtics any glimmer of hope. The Warriors, they're a championship team for a reason. They know how to close teams out. They know this is not the first time they've been on the road when they could have gave a team an extra life, but they said, nah, let's wrap this up. You know, first championship they ever won, they went on Game 6 on the road, won in Cleveland. I think they won in Cleveland again in 2018. So they've done that a couple times. And now one on the road, one in Boston, which is historically not an easy place to win, especially finals games. But this Celtics team, we'll get to them, man. They struggled at home in the postseason, but the Warriors did it. Steph Curry gets that finals MVP. And I'm not one to say, like, I don't think Steph Curry really has anything to prove. I just think the finals MVP is just a nice thing to have on his resume. I've been seeing a lot of damn top 10 all-time lists. Some people got Steph Curry 10, some people got him like 8, 7. Some people saying he's better than Magic Johnson now. I don't get into all-time rankings because I never watched a second of Magic Johnson in live action. You know, Larry Bird, I never watched those guys. So it's hard for me to really rank them. But I will say Steph Curry is the best point guard of our generation. He's the best point guard I've seen with my own two eyes. And this is a beautiful thing for him, man. It was tough because obviously I was pissed off because my Celtics lost. But watching his reaction, it seemed like that really meant a lot to him. To like, after what this team has been through the last 2 years, Klay Thompson missing a bunch of time, the 2020 season when they were the worst team in basketball, last year when they were on the cusp of making the playoffs, but they lost in the play-in game to the Grizzlies. It just seemed like all that. You know, even the injuries this season, Steph Curry going down, Draymond, Klay Thompson coming back. It seemed like all of that just kind of came out of Steph Curry after the buzzer sounded, and it was like, finally, like we're back on top. And the dynasty run continues, man. I'm still kind of trying to like corral my emotions together, man. It's like almost 24 hours since the game was over, but yeah, Steph Curry was incredible this series. He had the one off game. But other than that, he was carrying the offensive load. Andrew Wiggins, he was big time. He was the second best player in this series on both teams. Like he was the second best player in my opinion. What he did on the defensive side of the ball on Jason Tatum, which we're gonna get to, was incredible. On the offensive boards, incredible. And then in game 5, they asked him, or the Celtics basically forced him to beat them, and he did that shit. He beat the Celtics in Game 5 with some tough shot making, especially in the fourth quarter. Shout out to Wiggs. It's crazy to see his career not turn around because he was never a bust, but now that he's impacting championship. He's a champion, and he's a big reason to why this team was a champion. I got to give credit to Draymond Green because I came on here after Game 4, which everybody knew it. Everybody watched those first 4 games. He was garbage. He was terrible in those first 4 games. Other than like the fourth quarter of Game 4 with like the last 3 minutes when he was playing offense, defense, he was cool then. But in Game 5 and Game 6, he was a lot better. Actually probably didn't show in Game 5, but his impact was definitely there. In Game 6, he hit two 3-pointers, hit a mid-range jumper. He was scoring the ball. He was everywhere in defense. He really stepped it up, I think, on both sides of the floor. Because even in like the first 4 games, he was kind of getting attacked a little bit defensively. Jaylen Brown was not scared of that matchup early on in the series, but as the series kept going on, I think that championship presence that Draymond had really showed. So I got to give credit to him. He's on Twitter talking crazy. I had to mute him because I'm still kind of in my feelings about losing. I don't want to see too much Warrior stuff. But shout out to Draymond because he definitely bounced back. He definitely bounced back in a big way. Klay Thompson was never really Klay Thompson, but in a couple of those games, he did hit some big shots. And even with him not being himself this series, he had moments in this playoff run where he did look like Klay. And it's just good to see him also getting back to championship level after the last 2 seasons of brutal injuries. You're talking about a torn ACL. Then after he's rehabbed, he's getting ready to come back, tears his Achilles. You know, that might take a lot of guys out for their career, especially at the age. Klay, I think he's like 31, 32. Like, when you get two major injuries like that might take you out for the rest of your career. But Klay Thompson, he's come back, and he doesn't look like himself, but he has the moments where he does, and that's all this team needed, man. Jordan Poole was big time yesterday. He was kind of iffy in the finals, but he was hitting shots when it mattered the most for the Warriors, man. Kavon Looney, I saw a stat earlier today. I'm just going down the list and giving shout outs. Like, that's basically what I'm doing. I saw a stat earlier today that was saying, like, he's played like the 4th most games in a whole season, like playoffs and regular season combined. I think he played 104 games, which is crazy because, like, a few years ago, if you remember, it looked painful for him just to walk up and down the court. Like, he was dealing with a lot of, like, nagging injuries when the Warriors were still good. And to see him play every game this season, not miss a single game, especially with the COVID stuff going around, shout out to him. And he was impactful. Like, he was actually a really good man. And Steve Kerr has 9 championships as a player and coach, which is kind of insane, man. But the Warriors, they're back on top. They're probably going to have just about everybody back next season. We'll see what happens with Wiseman. Another year development for their young guys. I definitely was underestimating them coming into the season. I wasn't really that high on them. Even during the season, like after their early success, and then everything started to everybody kind of got healthy. I'm like, I'm still not a big believer in this team. And say what you want, they might have had they didn't play like the greatest of competition to get to the finals, but you still have to win those games. You still have to close out those series. And then you get to the finals, you're down 2-1, you face adversity, and you win 3 straight games. 2 of them being in Boston. That's an impressive finals. That's an impressive finals run. If you have to tip the cap, man. Like, they earned this championship. They earned it for sure. They showed championship heart. They showed a lot more heart than what the Celtics could have gave. And maybe that's the experience also playing a big factor, which was one of my big things going into the series was the experience. And I think it showed like towards the end of the series, man. I did pick Warriors in 6 though, so I guess that's like the silver lining for me. My professional opinion was right, but my fandom heart is hurting. Is hurting for sure, man. Shout out to the Dubs. Let's get to the Celtics. I'm starting off-season content very soon. The first team I'm gonna talk about is probably gonna be my Celtics, because I guess I'll just spoil it right here. I have a plan to bring as many content creators that are fans of NBA teams as possible. I might do some even outside of basketball, because I know a lot of big fans of teams that even though they're not basketball creators, they still do something creative. So I'm working on that. I got about half the teams down. The other half I might not be able to do because I don't have connections with like Utah Jazz fans or anything. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll try to get all 30. We'll try to get as many as possible. I think I'm going to do the Celtics by myself. It's my team. I watch every single game that they play. I think I'm going to do them by myself, man. I'm glad. This is why I didn't record last night. One, I wasn't home. But even if I was home, I don't think I would have recorded because my emotions were just so high. I probably would have said a lot of things that are wrong, but just in the moment I was feeling that way about certain players, certain things. And I'm glad I didn't record, because when your emotions are high as a fan, you just start saying shit. Like, you just start saying shit that's like, that's not true. Like, you don't believe that. You're just mad. Like, you're just upset. Like, that's just a matter of the fact. And that's just how I felt. I was just watching the game, and it's just like, it seemed like the Celtics didn't want it. Outside of like Jaylen Brown and Rob Williams. It just seemed like everybody else didn't want it. I made a lot of tweets, a lot directed at Jason Tatum, also Marcus Smart. They didn't play good last night. They were bad. They were very bad. They were very bad last night. Like, I can't sugarcoat it. Game 6, season on the line. If you lose, your season's over. They did not play good. Like, they played one of their worst games of the year, in my opinion. Tatum was garbage. In this series, he wasn't very good. We'll just keep it at that. He was not very good this series. Marcus Smart in this series, he had a couple really good games, but he had a lot of defensive lapses, and Game 6 was not a good game for him, especially shooting the ball. It seemed like, I don't even remember him hitting one jump shot last night. Like, it was a bad game for both of those guys. But what I'm not gonna do is let that deter me from the fact that Tatum still had an amazing season. He still had an amazing playoff run. And I saw somebody say, I think it was my guy Smoke on Twitter. I think he said every star player is due for a bad series. Every star player is due for a bad series. Like, just a series where nothing goes right. LeBron James has done it. We saw Kevin Durant do it. We've seen Steph Curry have really bad series. It tends to happen. And I just think, in the moment, I kind of got lost in that. I think people are kind of getting lost in that too, which is okay because it's really like a what have you done lately type of league. Like, that's how basketball is. It's always recency bias. And so I can understand that people are looking at Jason Tatum a certain way. Like, man, you ain't shit. Like, you're not that good anymore, which is not true, but it's just like, it's recency bias playing in. And I think I even got kind of caught in that yesterday. Like, I was saying all types of stuff in the group chat. And I will say, man, like, Tatum had a phenomenal playoff run. When the Celtics needed him the most in the Bucks series, he was there. In the Miami Heat series, he was there. First round, he outplayed Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Like, he had some incredible moments leading up to this finals. And even in the finals, he still had some good moments. He had the game where he had 13 assists. Game 3 was a pretty good game for him. Like, he still had good moments. It just wasn't, I think game 5, his third quarter stretch was incredible. Like, he had moments, but it just wasn't complete. Wiggins had his number. There were times where he just seemed completely checked out of the game. Then there was times where he wasn't being aggressive. Then there were other times where he's being overly aggressive. He's over dribbling, trying to go over 2 people when Grant Williams is wide open in the corner. It just seemed like me and my dad, we used the word indecisive. Like, he seemed very indecisive for most of this series. And it seems like when the Warriors adjusted, the indecisiveness really started to pick up. Hopefully I said that right. But it seemed like it really started to pick up once the Warriors made their adjustments. And he never really adjusted to those moves that Steve Kerr and company made. I don't think it doesn't take away from the fact that Jason Tatum had an amazing season. It's just, it sucks that his worst playoff basketball that we've seen him play probably since a year or two had to come in the NBA Finals in a series where you were up 2-1, you had a chance to go up 3-1, like you had a real chance to win Game 4. It sucks. It really does suck that that's the moment. Steph Curry makes a lot of people look normal, and I'm not gonna let that deter the fact that Marcus Smart did win Defensive Player of the Year, and I vouched for him heavy to win that award. Like, I'm not gonna let that deter me from those facts, even though their series were not very good. Jaylen Brown, he gave it everything he had. Shout out to my boy. Like, he's been one of my favorite players, like, really since like year 2. Like, I've been a big fan of JB. He stepped it up in the finals, man. He really did. And in this playoff run, like, since the Bucks series, he's probably been the Celtics' best player. He was incredible, man. But it just sucks that the guy that Jason Tatum did not play as well. And like I said, you got to give a lot of credit to Andrew Wiggins. He put on a defensive masterpiece against Jason Tatum. Like, you can't do it any better than what Wiggins did. He was incredible, man. Gary Payton was also good. Like, they had the bodies to throw at Tatum, and they really rattled him big time, and he just was never able to respond, man. I don't want to dive in too much, but yeah, it just sucks. Like, making it to the final. Like, this is the second time this year that one of my sports teams has made it to the championship and lost, and had a chance to win but lost. Carolina did it to me, and now the Celtics did it to me. And it's just like, damn, like, you look at it, you're like, damn, we got all the way here. We had moments where we look great, where we look like the superior team. Then we had other moments where it's like, we don't look like we're ready to be at this stage at all. And I think that was the biggest thing. The Celtics, like I mentioned, like a lot of people saw, like they just go through those lapses, and that's what a lot of people looked at and was like, yeah, give me the Warriors, me included. Like they went through lapses where they just weren't a good basketball team. It happened last night. You can't expect to win the finals game against the Golden State Warriors if you let a 21-0 run get put on your head. Like, you can't expect to win that game. You don't deserve to win that game. Just like in Game 5, you can't, start out 0 for 12 from 3, be down 22-8, only have like 33 points in the first half. Like, you can't do that stuff and expect to be a championship team, especially against a team that has championship. You just can't. You can't do that. Like, you can't. So my hope is, because it looks like for the most part the core is gonna be back. Whatever they got to do to get Al Horford back, I'm sure they will. It looks like the core is gonna be back. The question is, for me, is how do you get better? How do you get better? And I'm gonna get into this more when I do my what's the next video for the Celtics. But how do you get better? Is it gonna be, through moves in the offseason? Is it gonna be like, upgrading some positions? Because it's just tough. It's like, we made it this far. I don't think they'll look at it like we have to trade Brown, we have to trade Smart, or, give up a big piece of the core. I don't know. Like, do you do that? You definitely want to get, like, better in some areas. I might save some of what I have going through my head for that video. But how do you get better? Is experience going to be the teacher? Is that what's going to make this team better? I don't know. Because there's no guarantee that just because you get this experience that you're going to be back next year or you'll ever be back at all. Celtics fans, the franchise, we just went through 12 years between finals appearances. There's no guarantee in ever getting back. I hear JJ Redick say all the time, like, when they made the finals in Orlando, they lost, but he was like, it's okay because I'm going to be back someday. And he never made it back. So it's just like, it's not guaranteed. That's why what the Warriors have done, 6 finals in 8 years, 4 championships in 8 years, is so impressive. What LeBron James has done over the years, making like 10 straight finals, so impressive. Like, that stuff does not happen. It doesn't, that's not normal. Dynasty runs are not normal. And that's why, whether you love them, you hate them, you love Steph Curry and Draymond and Clay, or you can't stand the look of them, you got to respect it. If you watch basketball, if you watch sports, you got to respect this run, because we might not see something like this for like another 20 or so years. Like, it's not guaranteed. And the scary thing is, they're probably not done. They will be right back next year ready to compete for a championship. Right back next year, man. Shout out to the Warriors. 4 championships, man. That's big time. Shout out to the Celtics, because the way the season started, if you would have told me that they would have been 2 wins away from being NBA champions, I wouldn't have believed you. But they got there, and it was a fun series. I'll say that much. If I wasn't, like I said before, if I wasn't a fan of the Celtics, I would have probably really enjoyed this series. But basketball-wise, it was a very good series. Very entertaining. And the Warriors are the NBA champs. I can't believe this is the end of the season, bro. I can't. Make sure you're subscribed, because this is where I eat, is the offseason. The offseason is that's where I get busy. Like, for real. Like, the offseason numbers we put up last year was kind of crazy. I'm hoping that we double those numbers. I'm hoping that we double those numbers. Get to 1K subs. That's my plan. We going to do it. I appreciate y'all's support. Off-season video probably dropping by Monday. And my draft, I'm doing a mock draft. That might be dropping, I want to say, the day before the draft. So look out for that on Wednesday. Leave a like. Once again, subscribe. And I'll catch y'all next time, man. End of the season. I'm out. Peace.